Alright, so good day everyone. I am Lorenza J. Cabael, and today I will be presenting the topic entitled Policies, Practices, Developments, Issues and Problems of Philippine Educational System. But before that, let's have first a glimpse from the previous topic. From there, we studied about the governance and management of the system as reflected in its structure. We also analyzed if the problems and issues emanate from the structure and how the system itself has evolved to provide solutions to recurring problems. Now, going through with my assigned topic, here we will examine the objectives of each level as embodied in the legal basis, thereby providing us with a basic framework for the curricular programs at the different levels, namely the preschool, the basic education, the vocational or the technical education, and tertiary or the higher education. Right, so let's tackle first the early childhood care and development. According to the Section 3, Article 14, the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines 1987 states that all educational institutions shall inculcate patriotism and nationalism, foster of humanity, respect for human rights, appreciation of the role of national heroes in the historical development of the country, teach the rights and duties of the citizenship, strengthen ethical and spiritual values, develop moral character and personal discipline, encourage critical and creative thinking, broaden scientific and technological knowledge, and promote vocational efficiency. It just means that education in the Philippines aims to develop students into patriotic, morally upright, and responsible citizens. It should teach love of country, respect for human rights, appreciation of national heroes, and awareness of civic duties. And at the same time, it seeks to build ethical and spiritual values, discipline, and moral character while promoting critical and creative thinking, scientific and technological knowledge, and vocational skills to prepare every individual for a productive and meaningful lives. So I just have a question. Can you still recall the first time you attended classes? You were either 3 or 6 years old. If younger, you're lucky enough to have the opportunity to attend preschool, either at a privately run center or at a public or barangay administered center, because me myself I didn't experience such situation, because in my time early childhood or the daycare program wasn't that really required. As long as you can read, you can write, you can proceed to grade 1. Plus we also lived in a far-flung area, so maybe that's one of the reasons. So that was the situation that happened to me, no? Me neither. I don't know what happened because I was just a kid. I just found myself in grade 1 already. Maybe because I can already read, I can already write, no? So, alright, so much for that. Let's proceed to the next slide. So the ECCD system includes health, nutrition, early education, and social services programs that should provide for the basic holistic needs of young children from 0 to 6 years old. To ensure the promotion of their optimum growth and development, one of the programs to be institutionalized is the daycare services, which can be community, church, or school-based. You might ask me, why health? Why nutrition? Why early education? Why social services? Why not the behavior or the attitude of young learners? It is because those are the components of ECCD. First, it is the healthcare. So the healthcare, the ECCD includes healthcare services such as immunizations, health checkups, and development screening so that children or the daycare children receive proper medical care. So second is the nutrition. The system emphasizes proper nutrition for children, including the supplementary feeding programs to support their growth and development. So next is the early education. It includes early education programs such as the preschool and the kindergarten to provide children with a solid foundation for future learning. Next is the social services. The system also provides social services such as the parent education and involvement programs to support the development of children and of course their families as well. So we also have here the ACCD program. First, the home-based programs. So when we say home-based programs, these programs involve capacitating parents or caregivers to provide learning experiences for their children in their home. Next is the center-based program. So when we say center-based programs, these programs involve providing services in centers, schools, or workplaces such as daycare services or preschools. We also have here the mobile home-based programs. So this program involved conducting sessions in home or improvised facilities in the community. We also have here the key partnership of ACCD program. So first, the local government unit. The DSWD collaborates with LGUs to establish National Child Development Centers. They provide funds for the construction of the centers and for teaching and learning resources. As a matter of fact, every municipality has an assigned daycare focal person to look after the child development teacher assigned in every barangays. Next is the DepEd, or the Department of Education. A close working relationship with DepEd establishes continuing professional development program support. This partnership also provides supplementary learning materials, reference materials, supplemental nutrition, and healthcare services. Next is the Department of Health. Collaboration with DOH maintains that relevant programs include essential health services, promoting the overall well-being of children. Alright, so we also have here the objectives of National ACCD system. So first, it says that to achieve improved infant and child survival rates by ensuring that adequate health and nutrition programs are accessible to young children and their mothers from prenatal period throughout the early childhood years. So this just means that providing mothers and children with proper health care and nutrition starting from pregnancy and their early childhood can prevent illness and even death, no? So next is to enhance the physical, the social, emotional, cognitive, psychological, spiritual, and language development of young children. So this just aims to support the overall growth of children, helping them to become healthy, to become smart, to become confident and well-rounded children or even individual. So next, to enhance the role of parents and other caregivers as the primary caregivers and educators of their children from birth onward. So this objectives number 3 emphasizes that parents and caregivers are the child's first teachers. So they should be guided and supported to proper nurture and educate their children. Alright, next, according to the ACCD Act, the ACCD curriculum should focus on the children's total development according to their individual needs and social background. Specifically, the curriculum has the following basic policies. So first, it shall promote the delivery of complementary and integrative services of healthcare, nutrition, early childhood education, sanitation, and cultural activities. So this means that ACCD system ensures that children receive complete support for their growth, including good health, proper nutrition, education, proper hygiene, and exposure to their culture. Because all of this, when they work together, it is a total development towards the children or towards the young learners. So next, it shall use the child's first language as the medium of instruction. So this means that the children should be taught using their mother tongue or their first language because it could help them or it helps them to fully understand the lessons and for them to learn effectively. Alright, so let's now come to the basic education or the elementary and secondary levels. So Republic Act 9155 or the Governance of Basic Education Act of 2001 spells out the framework of governance for basic education and renames the institution as the Department of Education. So this law organizes how basic education in the Philippines is managed and officially names the Department of Education or DepEd as the mainly agency in charge. Next, this legal document states that quality basic education is the right of all citizens and therefore should be accessible to all by providing all Filipino children free and compulsory education in the elementary level and free education in the high school level. So this means that every Filipino child has the right to quality education and the government must provide free schooling in both elementary and high school levels so that all children or all students can study. Alright, next. It also underscores the inclusion of alternative learning systems for out-of-school youth and adult learners who should be provided with skills, knowledge, and values to become caring, self-reliant, productive, and patriotic citizens. So this means that education is not just only for students in regular schools. Out-of-school youth and adults are also given a chance to learn useful skills and values to help them become responsible and productive members of society. Next, the state shall encourage local initiative for improving the quality of basic education, ensure that the values, the needs, and aspiration of the school community are reflected in their programs. Schools and learning centers shall be empowered to make decisions on what is best for their learners. So this means that the government supports local efforts to improve education and allow schools to make decisions that best fit their students' needs, ensuring that education programs serve the community effectively. In addition, the Matatag curriculum launched by the Department of Education or DepEd on August 10, 2023 is a significant revision of the K-10 curriculum or the kindergarten to grade 10 within the K-12 framework. It addresses the challenges in the original curriculum such as content overload and poor performance in national and international assessments by decongesting the curriculum and focusing on essential skills. The term matatag stands for makabagong curriculum na napapanahon, talino na mula sa puso, tapang na humarap sa hamon, and galing ng Pilipino. Its overarching goal is to produce competent, job-ready, active, responsible, and patriotic citizens under the slogan, Bansang Makabata, Batang Makabansa. So from kindergarten to grade 12, let's come first to kindergarten. So the kindergarten program starts at 5 years old, provides a smooth transition to formal education by promoting physical, social, emotional, and cognitive development through play-based and developmentally appropriate learning experiences. So in kindergarten, young learners are encouraged to demonstrate curiosity, creativity, and enthusiasm in learning, develop basic literacy and numeracy skills, show social and emotional skills like cooperation, sharing, and self-regulation, develop physical and coordination and motor skills, and of course, understand and appreciate one's culture, values, and environment. Right, next is the elementary from grades 1 to 6. So the elementary program aims to develop learners' foundational skills in literacy, numeracy, critical thinking, and social skills. The program strengthens the learner's sense of nationalism, civic responsibility, and appreciation of Filipino culture and diversity. So the elementary school learners are taught how to read with comprehensions and communicate effectively in Filipino and in English. They are also taught to solve problems using basic mathematical operations and logical reasoning, demonstrate understanding of science and environmental awareness, appreciate Filipino identity, heritage and values, and show responsible citizens and moral uprights. Next is the junior high school or the grades 7 to 10. The junior high school program aims to deepen learners' knowledge and skills in various subject areas, preparing learners for either higher education or vocational skills training, thus nurturing independent and collaborative learning, critical and analytical thinking, and responsible digital and civic engagement. So this just means that the students in junior high school are being taught how to apply scientific, mathematical, and technological knowledge to a real-world situation. They are also being taught how to communicate effectively in Filipino, in English, and mother tongue or the what we call the regional languages. They are also being taught how to analyze social, historical, and cultural context to become socially aware citizens. They also being taught how to demonstrate values such as discipline, honesty, and perseverance. Lastly, they are also being taught how to use technology and information responsibly and ethically. Next is the senior high school or the grades 11 and 12. So the senior high school program offers the academic track that prepares students for higher education, equipping them with theoretical knowledge, research skills, and academic discipline. So the academic track is ideal for students who intend to pursue college or university education. It offers various strands aligned with specific fields of study. The senior high school offers a lot of strands. Those are the general academic strand, STEM, EBM, and industrial sections also, or the BSIT, no? So those are the strands that the senior high school offers. However, despite these legal provisions, reports on students' performance on the basic subjects as math, science, and English has not been anything but dismal. Reports say that the Philippines ranked 5th and 4th from the last of 46 countries in the international assessment of the mathematics and science skills of 13 and 14 years old students. And the students' performance in the National Achievement Test in these two subjects is the same. The students fared poorly with mean percentage scores falling below 50%. The result in the English Achievement Test was even worse. So this just means that even though there are laws to improve the education system here in the Philippines, Filipino students are still perform poorly in major subjects like math, science, and English. Reports show that the Philippines ranks very low compared to other countries, and many students score below 50% in national tests, especially in English, where the results are even worse. Moreover, cognizant of immediately responding to recurring problems, DepEd prepared the Education National Development Plan for Children or the NP from 2000 to 2025, which aims to provide the focus for setting local as well as national priorities in education. The NP also considered the key goals set forth at the John 10 Conference in 1990, where the Philippines was a signatory to attain the goal of education for all. The conference defined basic learning needs such as the literacy, the oral expression, numeracy, problem solving, as well as the basic learning content, and these are the knowledge, the skills, the values, and the attitude. So the Department of Education or the DepEd created the Education National Development Plan for Children or the NP to probably solve the ongoing problems and set clear goals for improving the education in the country. So this plan follows the Education for All goal for 1990 June 10 conference. Focuses on teaching essential skills like reading, like writing, math problem solving, and developing good values and attitudes. Alright, so let's now come to the alternative learning system, or the ALS. So you might wonder, you might ask me, what kind of illustration is that? Because there is a line that has a arrow heads on both ends, and there are also lines that infinitely heading in one directions, no? So this illustration shows the relationship among the components of the Philippine educational system. So we should put in mind that ALS is actually the component that that bridges the gap between the formal basic education and vocational technical education, since it is designed to be a parallel learning system that provides a viable alternative to the formal and non-formal education instruction. Further, it also encompasses both the non-formal and informal sources of knowledge and skills. Next, to make the system operative, Executive Order Number 365 was released renaming the Bureau of Non-Formal Education to Bureau of Alternative Learning System. This system has three major non-formal programs. These are first, the Basic Literacy Program, community-based program for non-literates or out-of-school youth, children, and adults. So in Basic Literacy Program, a community program that teaches reading, writing, and basic math to people who cannot read or write, including the out-of-school youth, children, and adults. Next is the Accreditation and Equivalency Program. So certification of learning for certification of learning for able to avail of the formal system, or who have dropped out of formal elementary or secondary education, therefore have not completed the 10 years of basic education. So this program, the Accreditation and Equivalency Program, gives certificates to learners who did not finish formal schooling, allowing them to continue or re-enter the formal education system. Next is the Indigenous People Education Program. So a program that aims to develop an Indigenous people culture-sensitive curriculum, learning materials, and assessment tool and instrument. So this program, the IP program, is designed for Indigenous communities to ensure education respects and includes their culture, traditions, and language. We also have here the benefits of ALS. First, the accessibility. Accessibility in a sense that education becomes reachable for those living in remote areas or with limited resources. Next is the flexibility. Flexibility in a sense that learners can study at their own pace, accommodating their personal and professional commitments. Next is the inclusivity, in a sense that ALS open doors for learners of all ages, backgrounds, and circumstances, fostering a culture of lifelong learning. Next is the empowerment. Empowerment because completing basic studies through ALS enhances employment opportunities, self-esteem, and social participation. Let's now come to the vocational technical education. So vocational technical, or the VocTech education, is under the supervision of the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. TESDA was created through Republic Act 7796, enacted in 1994. What is now considered as the polytechnic education system includes the polytechnic schools and colleges and post-secondary VocTech education. So the vocational technical education is supervised by TESDA, no? or the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, which was created under the Republic Act 7796 in 1994. So this provides training and education focused on practical skills for jobs through polytechnic schools and colleges and post-secondary programs. Next, considered as post-secondary and lower tertiary levels, vocational technical courses were envisioned to offer non-degree programs that will prepare middle-level personnel and paraprofessionals for national industries. Hence, TESDA is also mandated to develop trade skills, standards, and trade tests for local, international, and foreign organizations. So, this explains that vocational technical education refers to post-secondary and lower tertiary level programs that provide non-degree training. These programs aim to prepare middle-level workers and skilled professionals for various industries. The agency, or the TESDA, is responsible for developing skills standard and conducting trade tests recognized both locally and internationally. Right, so we also have here the two components of TESDA. These are the recognized program. So first, the apprenticeship. It is a training within employment with compulsory instruction. So hindi ba kapag naghahanap tayo ng trabaho, ang unang tanong sa atin ng nag-i-interview, may in situ ka ba? Anong klaseng in situ ang meron ka? So diyan pumapasok sa apprenticeship ang ganong sitwasyon. Next is the dual system training. It is a delivery system of quality, technical, and vocational education which requires training carried out alternately in two venues, in school and in production plant. So, sa dual system training, yaan yung tinitrain ka muna sa school bago ka isa lang sa field. Diyan pumapasok sa dual system ang ganong sitwasyon. We also have here the challenges in vocational and technical education. First, the perception and stigma. Academic versus vocational. Societal perceptions often favor academic education over vocational training, leading to a stigma around vocational careers. Some companies, they prefer someone who had acquired higher education rather than vocational training. So, may mga ibang kumpanya na mas gusto nila yung may mataas na pinag-aralan, yung may diploma, kaysa sa graduate ng TESDA. Next is the awareness. Lack of awareness about the value and opportunities provided by the vocational technological programs. So yung iba, hindi nila alam yung mga opportunity that can get through TechVoc. Halimbawa, doon sa ibang bansa, 'di ba, marami ang mga trabaho na pwede mong pasukan if ikaw ay kapag tapos sa TESDA. Pero yung iba hindi nila alam yung ganun kasi nagsisettle sila dito sa Pilipinas. Next is the access and equity. Availability. Unequal access to quality vocational and technical education programs, particularly in rural or underserved area. So this means that there are places na walang nag-offer ng mga ganoong training sa kanilang lugar, usually sa mga far-flung area. Usually makikita natin ang TechVoc education sa city. Inclusivity. Ensuring that vocational technical education programs are inclusive and accessible to all individuals, including marginalized and disadvantaged groups. So, ito ang dito pumapasok na ang TESDA ay open sa lahat. Mapa-PWD ka man, mapa-solo parent ka man, lahat open siya. Next, quality and relevance. Curriculum updates. Keeping curricula updated with the latest industry standards and technological advancement. So, dapat nakakasabay ang TechVoc sa latest industry standards and technological advancement, hindi lang basta sa kung ano lang ang kaya nila, kundi kailangan nila sumabay sa agos ng edukasyon dito sa Pilipinas. Instructor qualifications, ensuring that instructors have the necessary industry experience and pedagogical skills. So, ang instructor ng TESDA, hindi lang kung sino-sinong instructor dapat, mayroong industrial experience, mayroong pedagogical skills, kasi paano nila maituturo yung mga skills na dapat may acquire na kanilang mga estudyante kung sila mismo hindi nila alam. Diba? You cannot teach what you don't have. Next is the funding and resources. Financial constraints. Limited funding for vocational technical education programs can impact the quality of training and available resources. So, lahat naman siguro ng parte ng edukasyon ay may limited funds, no? But in textbook, it says that kapag may kakulangan sa funds, it serve as a hindrance to them to purchase standard training materials na maaaring makapag-stop upang makapagbigay sila ng quality education sa kanilang mga estudyante. Infrastructure. So, need for modern infrastructure, equipment, and technology to provide effective training. So, dito din, if may limited funds, diba? Of course, there are also kakulangan sa mga modernong kagamitan kasi hindi sila makapag-purchase eh. Diba? Kasi nga, limitado ang pondo nila. So, yun. Now, let's proceed to the strategies for improvement of vocational and technical education. So, first, enhancing perception and awareness. First, the career counseling, providing career counseling and guidance to highlight the value and opportunities in vocational and technical careers. So, dito nagkakaroon or pagkakaroon ng career counseling. Next is the public campaigns. Conducting public campaigns to change perceptions and promote the benefits of vocational and technical education. They can go out to have their public campaigns to promote the vocational and technical education. For instance, I am working in a local government of Paranas as AGO. So there was one time that there are instructor from TESDA, pumasok sila sa aming opisina to promote the benefits, the programs that they offer in their vocational and technical education program, no? They promote and nanhikayat din sila, no, na papasokin kung mayroon man kaming mga kilala na gustong mag-undergo ng TESDA. So that's one from public campaigns. Next is the improving access and equity. Scholarship and financial aid. Offering scholarship and financial aid to make vocational and technical programs more accessible. So usually, ang TESDA ay minsan nag-offer sila ng mga scholarship, no? May mga free allowances, yun. Next is the community outreach. Engaging with communities to ensure that vocational and technical opportunities are available to all individuals. So they can have their community outreach to let people know that vocational and technical education are available to all individuals who wanted to take it up. Next is the ensuring quality and relevance. Curriculum development, regularly updating curricula to align with industry standards and technological advancement. So dapat ang TESDA ay mayroon silang curriculum development na kung saan dito makikita natin kung nagka-align ba ang industry standards nila sa kanilang technological advancement. Next is the instructor training. So providing professional development opportunities for instructors to enhance their industry knowledge and teaching skills. So dapat ang mga instructor from TESDA, they also have training, no? They should be trained also for them to acquire or enhance knowledge and teaching skills from their chosen career. Next, the strengthening industry collaboration, partnership with employers. building strong partnerships with employers to ensure that training programs meet industry needs. So, dapat yung mga employers nila, kapartner din nila, no, there is a collaboration for them to know kung na-meet ba yung mga industry needs ng bawat estudyante na meron sila. Advisory committees. Establishing advisory committees with industry representatives to guide curriculum development and program design. So, dapat may advisory committee sila upang magkaroon ng guidance sa kanilang curriculum development and program design. Next is the securing funding and resources. Government support, increasing government investment in vocational and technical programs to improve infrastructure and resources. Next is the private sector involvement, encouraging private sector investments and partnership to enhance program quality and relevance. So, dapat talaga mayroong partnership, no, for them to also have their funds and resources, no? Kasi yun lang naman yung magiging solusyon upang magkaroon or ma-secure nyo ang inyong fund and resources. As such, TESDA works closely with the Department of Labor and Employment, or the DOLE, which offers apprenticeship programs. In fact, the Secretary of DOLE sits in the TESDA board. Alright, so let's now come to the tertiary or the higher education. So the Section 2 Declaration of the Policy Republic Act 7722 states that the state shall protect, foster, and promote the right of all citizens to affordable quality education at all levels, and shall take appropriate steps to ensure that education shall be accessible to all. The state likewise ensure and protect academic freedom, and shall promote its exercise and observance for the continuing intellectual growth, the advancement of learning and research, the development of responsible and effective leadership, the education of high-level and middle-level professional, and enrichment of our historical cultural heritage. So, this policy clearly states that it is the state's responsibility to protect, to foster, and to promote the right to affordable quality education at all levels, to ensure that education shall be accessible to all. So this policy is also clear that education is the right of every Filipino citizen. Also, tertiary or higher education includes all post-secondary courses ranging from 1 or 2-year course to the 4th-year degree and professional programs, including graduate education offered in colleges and universities. The objective of this main component of the Philippine education system can be gleaned from mission statement of the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED. So this explains that the tertiary or higher education covers all post-secondary courses from short programs to a 4-year degrees and graduate studies offered in colleges and universities. It is a key part of the Philippine education system, and its goals are guided by the Commission on Higher Education. We also have here the benefits of tertiary or the higher education. First, the higher earning potential and employability. So, in the higher earning potential and employability, it means that many careers require applicants to possess some kind of degree or certificate. Typically, the higher the education that you earn, the greater your earning potential becomes. Next is the career specialization. So when students are in high school, they are able to learn more about their interest at the topics they care to continue learning about. With this knowledge, they can specialize and choose a career path during college experience. Depending on the position you wish to obtain, you may require a degree or certificate to even enter the field. Next is the personal development. Along with the earnings and knowledge associated with tertiary education, the experience aids in personal development. Students who continue their education with honed skills like time management, communication skills, and critical thinking, and etc. Next, similar to ECCD schools and basic education institution, SHED institutions are two general categories, public and private. Public higher education institutions are further classified by SHED as follows. State universities and colleges. Chartered public higher education institution established by law, administered and financially subsidized by government. A few have fiscal autonomy while others don't. So this states that the public higher education institutions established by law, administered and often subsidized by the government, some enjoy fiscal autonomy. Next is the local universities and colleges, established by the local government through resolution or ordinance, financially supported by the local government concerned. So these are the schools created by the local government units or the LGUs through resolutions or ordinances and are funded by the local government. Next is the CHID, which supervised by the higher education institution. Non-chartered public post-secondary education institutions established by law, administered, supervised, and financially supported by the government. So these are the public schools established by law but not chartered. They are managed, supervised, and funded by CHED and the national government. On the other hand, private higher education institutions are established under the Corporation Code and are governed by the special laws and general supervision of this code. Non-secretarians are usually incorporated, owned and operated by private entities that are not affiliated with any religious organization. Sectarian institutions are usually non-stock, non-profit, but duly incorporated, owned and operated by a religious organization. Whether sectarian or non-sectarian, these private higher education are expected to implement the policies and standards formulated by CHED. So in other words, the non-sectarian schools are privately owned and not linked to any religious group, while the sectarian schools owned or run by a religious organization but usually non-profit. Overall, both of them must follow the policies and standard that has been set by the CHED. So that's all for the tertiary or higher education. So before I end my discussion, I have two questions that's playing in my mind. Siguro asya gyapon it question na gusto niyo ipakianaha ako na no if I'm just reporting in front of you. So first question, why is there a need for alternative learning system in the Philippines? May da naman kinder, may da naman grades 1 to 6, may da naman grades 7 to 12, di ba? So kaya ano kailangan pahin-als? So my answer goes this way. So many Filipinos do not have a chance to attend and finish formal education grades 1 to 6 and so on and so forth due to many reasons. Some drop out from schools while some do not have schools in their communities because they're living in the far-flung, no? Since every Filipino has a right to free basic education, the government establishes the alternative learning systems to provide all Filipinos the chance to have an equal access and complete basic education in a mode that fits their distinct situation and needs. That's the first question. The second question is, what is the difference between the formal education system and the alternative learning system, non-formal education? So formal education system is a classroom-based, managed by trained formal school teachers. So while the ALS or the non-formal education happens outside the classroom, community-based, usually conducted at community learning centers, barangay multipurpose hall, libraries, or at home, managed by ALS learning facilities such as the mobile teachers, the district ALS coordinators, the instructional managers at an agreed schedule and venue between the learners and the facilitators. So that's all. Thank you. In my conclusion, the Philippine education system provides a complete learning pathway from daycare and kindergarten, which build early childhood skills, to junior and senior high school, which develop academic and technical foundation, to the alternative learning system, offering education opportunities for out-of-school learners, then technical and vocational education, which trains students for skilled jobs, and finally, higher education, which prepares individuals for professional and specialized careers. Together, these levels ensure lifelong learning and national development. That's all. Thank you.